Hello, humans of the world. You are now tuned into Relayshons Podcast, where me and a new co-host just like you discuss our relations with ourselves, with each other, and our experiences. Are we ready to break the cycles? You know, the ones that live within our learned behaviors. Have you noticed the decisions you make subconsciously? The ones that lead you right back to where you started? Let's take on the healing journey together. Get on this PJ of unconventional conversations and let's travel all the way through our lineage. Then let's break the cycles link by link. Ready? Let's do this. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Relayshons.
Here we are.
Hello, humans of the world. We're back for another amazing episode. I want to start off by thanking you guys for listening, for always supporting me, for being dope, because you know that's the best part of this experience. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to tell you guys is that we have a return VIP guest. Okay, he was in last season's episode. We did a live together during quarantine, which was dope. And now he's back to bless you with his intelligence, with his connection to himself and to this life experience. So meet Jesus. Jesus Christ has arrived.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure being here again. I enjoy these interactions. So let's go ahead and have a great time connecting with each other here. It's going to be great.
Yes, amen. So Jesus, just, I know you're a returner, but just a little tidbit of how we met, just for the people who don't know.
So we met a long time ago through one of my cousins. It was probably early 20s. Early 20s?
Over 10 years for sure.
It's been a while. It's been a while. You're one of my cousin's close friends from, his youth, high school. So we definitely met very early on, when times are very different, and so we've kept in touch. We've kept sort of following each other's progressions, your travels, your journey through life, our journeys through life, and so we are connecting every now and then, and I love it. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. Amen to that. So. This subject, I don't know, where are we? We are on March 27th, 2021. And this week was an eventful week, like many of the weeks that we've been having since 20. And this whole thing blew up about Derek Jackson. He's this is an author. I guess, how do we describe him? An author, a published author.
He's a relationship guru by profession, just based on his following and what his thing is all about. He has like 9 books and it's all about relationships and healing. And actually, most of his books are about healing from cheating. So I wouldn't be surprised that he does that. So let's put it out there.
So all of that blew up. Basically, he, as the relationship cheating guru, came out with his wife basically to say that he cheated and to confess to the world. And so anyway, from that conversation, I derived this question that I've been having. Like, I don't know. I would say I've been having this question for myself for the past 5 years. And the question is the tradition of monogamy expired? Now, the episode today is titled Monogamy is the Only Way. And so as you guys know, this season, I am titling every episode with something that we are trying to unlearn or have already unlearned in this chapter in our lives. So before we get into it, Jesus, I'm going to start off with the key words to be defined on the episode. And this season, I'm starting with according to Webster's Dictionary of 1828, just because I think it's a little bit more direct. But in this case, a lot of definitions were a little bit too direct and too capitalistic. So I kind of vibed and did a little bit of the old Webster and the new Webster.
Okay, so you have a little mix of both.
A little bit of mix of both so that we make sure that we're on the same page when we're talking and we're saying these words. So let's start off with the first word. Infidelity, unfaithfulness, particularly in married persons, a violation of the marriage covenant by adultery or lewdness. The word cheating, defrauding by deception, imposing on, act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage, especially in a game or examination. 3, freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. The next word, agreement, unions of minds in regards to a transfer of interest, bargain, compact, contract, stipulation, a negotiated and typically legally binding agreement between parties as to a course of action. The next word, expired, to come to an end, to cease, to terminate, to close or conclude as a given period. And lastly, but not least, the word monogamy, the marriage of one wife only, or the state of such as are restrained to a single wife, or the practice or state or habit of having only one mate at a time, sexually or through marriage. So just a little background. How long have humans practiced monogamy? So I Googled this. It came up that we've been practicing monogamy for about 1,000 years. But it's not always the norm among our ancestors. Other primates, like the mammalian groups to which humans belonged, are still polygamist too. The modern monogamous culture has only been around for just 1,000 years. And who started monogamy? So ancient Greece and ancient Rome, the ancient Greeks and Romans were monogamous, and in the sense that men were not allowed to have more than one wife or to cohabitate with concubines during marriage. So that's a lot of information. I want everyone just to take a moment, soak all of that in. This is all according to Webster and, the defined words and systems that we've come to understand to get to this point. So I just want to leave with that. So let's transition right to it. Relationships are challenging. And furthermore, although we continue to lead the way based on our own understandings of quote unquote, the way we coexist, I think it's safe to say it does not work for many. But I continue to question, is it based on human nature or foolery? Or is it just an expired tradition we've learned to live by? I know we all feel the pressure, meet your partner, procreate, build a family. But what if we are forcing monogamy knowing it's no longer functional? Let's talk about it. So let's start off, Jesus. What are we not saying about infidelity, right? I know we say a lot, oh, men are dogs. We all know what people say. But what are we not saying?
I think what we're not saying about infidelity is that we're not being realistic. The expectations that we have when we come into a relationship are all based on norms from the past and not an agreement that you come to terms with your partner. So when I meet someone, there's already an expectation as to how I should act based on her understanding of how men should act according to her life experiences, what she's learned. So read in a book, saw in a movie, told by her parents, told by her friends. So there is never a conversation where we sit down and from scratch come up with an agreement that we both can agree on. That's what an agreement is. That we both sort of go, okay, what's the give and take? Forget about what everybody else thinks. What's the give and take? Let's have an honest conversation about the expectations from both sides. And I think that's what's not happening. Communication is key. And it's from both sides. And I'm going to say the men are at fault first because we don't tell women our honest truth, which is that for most men, and obviously you can never speak for 100% of men, right?
Right, of course.
But for most men, especially depending on the time frame that you're having this conversation, let's say you're 22, you just graduated college, you're 25, you're in the middle of your master's, whatever the case may be, you're too young to honestly expect to have a lifelong commitment. Let's say you live up to 80. From 25 to 80, that's a long time for you to expect to have an agreement to last that long and have it not fail. So one thing the way I think about it is Elon Musk, for example, he says that whenever you're doing something that's worthwhile, it most likely will fail. Like whenever he started his companies, he knew there was a 99% chance he was going to fail, which is why he's so successful now, because that 1% of success rate made him who he is today. And so when we go into marriage with the expectation that, oh, we're going to be exclusive monogamous for the rest of our lives, and now you sort of own me and I sort of own you in terms of what we can do and what we can experience and what we can interact with. Because monogamy isn't just no sex. I can't flirt. I can't text another woman that's not business related. If it's a friend, what kind of friend? I can't even have female friends without that other person or my partner being suspicious. Like all these kinds of things come about, and it's unmanageable. You can't possibly put that kind of restriction on a person that at 25 is just starting their life. Because through high school and college, there's structure. You're learning about yourself. You're gaining skills, and you're building yourself. So at 25, you just started. You just finally finished with the training of your life in terms of your career or things that you're going to do. And at 25, you're just starting to now discover who you are and experience the world. And all of a sudden, you're going to get locked down by someone who isn't going to want you to go out with female friends, the opposite sex, or anything of that sort. And I think that that expectation is too much. The odds of it failing are too high. And so when it does fail, we blame the other person for cheating. But it's not cheating. It's just that we never have the conversation to honestly put true expectations on that relationship and just be honest with what is it that we want and what we're willing to expect. And that's where the failure is. And so the men are at fault first for not being honest, and women for expecting that without having that conversation. So both. But I think the men first. We should be honest with women.
So I heard a lot here. So the first thing I heard was we are scared of the judgment. I think that right there is huge, because I think that a lot of us move in certain ways, doing things based on according to what we think other people are going to say or have opinions on what we do. So that's number one. Mm-hmm. The second thing I heard was insecurity. We are insecure. The idea of I'll be completely transparent. I'm not going to be able to respect a man who needs me to control him in any capacity, right? Mm-hmm. Vice versa, a man to control me, right? So this whole and I know, ladies, I know y'all gonna be pissed at me, but at this point, I have to be honest with myself and honest with you, that this idea of feeling like we have to manipulate a man to want to be with us, to stay with us, and then now continue to live the rest of your life, basically to having a full-time job and keeping track of what he does or not does is freaking exhausting. I can't even believe I even have time for this. We need to find a better way of having communication and openness. And if you're in a relationship with somebody who you have to do that with, you shouldn't be there, right? No one should want to be in a relationship with someone who you have to do that for. Technically, right? We're not understanding where we are and why we've been doing things. We just do it because we feel well, this is what everyone does. So now we're doing it, but you don't even know why you're doing it.
You don't know why you're doing it. I think that there's a dopamine high from having someone committed to you. Wow, that person loves me and they're willing to do, X, Y, and Z for me, meaning sacrifice for me. That there's a high in that. There's wow, you feel good.
Control.
Exactly, yeah. But the opposite of that is everything that comes in the opposite of that is that you are being controlled, or you're expected to now act a certain way. And so it's only a matter of time before failure happens, because the expectations are just too high. And so, like you said, we need to have an honest conversation. So let me give you an example, right? Just a quick example that people will probably be very familiar with. I was in a relationship. Well, I've been in a few, but this particular one, this young lady had a problem with me looking at other women's booty or boobs as they walk by, right? And so I would tell her, I'm not staring, as in staring, for 5-10 seconds. But when something that's attention grabbing walks by, then it does what it's supposed to do. It grabs your attention. The same way that if a naked guy runs by, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, you saw that? A naked guy just walked by. Everybody's going to look at that naked guy because it's weird. It's attention grabbing. So when a woman that, pushes up her boobs and they're huge walks by me and I quickly take a look, just quickly, she would get upset for that. And I would even tell her oh shit, look at her boobs. I want a woman that's not gonna get upset at that. Now that's very little. Just now that's very little.
But that's a form. Yeah, but that's a form of suppression, right? She's telling you to suppress your instinctive nature in looking.
Exactly.
It's
not right.
looking. So a few other things: we're being egotistical, we're being addicted to deceit and control.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting, and the fact that is also, I think, a thrill for men to get over on someone. So it's like, well, I know that I am not going to be able to adhere to this expectation, but something inside of me feels some type of a thrill getting over on this because think I'm going to get away with it, right? And so I'm here. We're both kind of going like this and not really getting any type of agreement. It's just a battle.
I don't think it's that men want to get over on women. Is that men want to win. So I won you, right? I approached you. I said what I had to say in order to get your attention so that I could get a date, right? The same way that women do what they have to do with makeup and a nice dress and flirting and flipping of the hair and, red lips to get a man's attention so that I can do what you want me to do, which is approach you. So we both have mechanisms to approach each other, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that mechanism that I've trained my whole life to have, you want me now to suppress it just because of you. So there are two options here. I can either completely suppress it and be miserable, which means we're going to end the relationship because we're not on good terms, or I can win you over, and that means lie, cheat, and steal, meaning by any means necessary, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to keep you. And then that's where the lie, cheat, and steal part comes in, which is I'm going to have a secret or an other option that you're not going to know about. Why? Because there are certain mechanisms that I've built through my life that aren't just going to go away. The same way that if you are a beautiful woman that dresses well and has curves and likes to go out, the minute that we get together, I'm not going to tell you, okay, now you can't dress like that. Okay, now you can't wear makeup no more. Okay, now you can't wear that bra no more. Okay, now no more thongs for you. You go to the beach, you got to wear something that covers you. No, you got to keep that sexuality. That's part of you. And I'm going to keep my aggressiveness. That's part of me. And so it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah, the learned behaviors. Yeah. So just a few other things before we go to the next question. A few things that we're not saying. I think men are not saying that they want to experience the PUSSY from time to time, just a new one, just because it's a thrill. And like you said, you want to win, you want something new. I think women are not saying that all of their satisfactions are not always met with one men, and they are suppressing their true emotions. Right. I think that we're not saying that someone may want monogamous from you, but they can't handle if you were not monogamous to them in return.
Exactly.
That's huge.
That's huge. And that's so there's one part there that's very important. The one where I can handle being monogamous, but I don't want you. Women are usually, into my experience, they seem to have that understanding, which is I'm okay being monogamous, and I want you to be also monogamous, but we're not on the same page.
Right? And I think women are suppressing during that process anyway. But nonetheless, then what we're also not saying is that we use sex as a cope and release method. We use it as therapy, and our sexual appetite sometimes comes ahead of our priorities.
Well, what if sexual appetite is part of your priority?
I mean, it's a part of your priority, but it shouldn't be the only priority. For instance, for me, right, which that goes to the last statement that I was going to make, a loss of advantage of platonic relationships. To me, my platonic relationships are more valuable than my sexual appetite. So if I have a friend and I value the friendship, and I might be sexually attracted to them, I'm going to suppress the sexual appetite to adhere and keep up the platonic relationship because that's more valuable, right? So I don't think that sexual appetite shouldn't be a priority. I just mean where you put it in the scale, depending on your agreements are or your commitments are, can be a little bit of a shift. Would you agree?
I agree. I agree. But I mean, I can agree in in theory with that. But what happens when your feelings change? What happens when you want to turn that platonic relationship into a sexual relationship?
I think we should be at liberty in making the decision of what's best for us at any time. I don't want my man to be with me because he's forced to. Like I don't want anybody to be in my life if they no longer want to be. Whether we're in this 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, 15 years, I think we should be free in changing our minds and deciding something different at any point, right? I don't want a man who's forced to be with me. Like that's just me though. But I know that that's the narrative that we play. It's like, well, just train him to be with you or deal with this so he could be with you. No, bro, if you start liking something else, please go and let me like something else too. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's all right. So there are two things to that, right? And that's one of the reasons why this is probably for the audience. So typically, 50% divorce rate is the norm, right? That's what we always hear. Well, in today's world, it's a little lower. It's actually come down to about 40%. But it's not necessarily a good thing. It's because people are getting married at an older age. Um,
Mm.
Before, in the 80s, 70s, by 25, you were probably either engaged or already married. Now it's by 30. And in a few years, it's going to be by 35. I mean, I'm about to be 34 and I'm not even close. And a lot of my friends, I want to say 80% of my friends, male friends, are not married. And a lot of them may be in relationships and even live with their girlfriends, but they're not married. That's why the divorce rate has come down a little bit. Now, what happens is that with that kind of expectations that we have, where, oh, if you want to be with someone, you can go ahead and be with that person. I'm going to do my own thing as well. That works when your sexual marketplace value is high. So in your 20s, mid 20s, you can say that, right? I can say that because, oh, I still have time. I look good. Go ahead, be with whoever you want to be with. I'm going to be whoever we're going to be with. But by the time I'm 40, 45, I'm not going to feel the same because I'm no longer the same. I no longer have the same value in the sexual marketplace. And the sexual marketplace is a real place where you are valued based on your age and how you look. And that sexual marketplace, unfortunately, is harder on women because of biology. So what happens is that men with age, and I'm not making this up, this is science, I can change biology because of science, because of the way we work, men with age continue to maintain the level of value. Because the level of value, you
Well, it
disagree?
depends. Only because you can still procreate doesn't mean that your libido and all of the and your actual sexual energy stays high. Only because you can procreate. Because there's a lot of men, usually older. The
Mhm.
older you get, the more help you need to continue to keep your libido up. The thing is that men prioritize it more than women. So, for instance, that's why they have a huge marketplace for medications to help men
Mhm.
their libido because that is a huge priority and a huge part of your manhood.
Right.
Women, not so much because it's like, okay, you may lose your libido after children or after, stress levels and all of that, all the chemistry
Right.
within you. So it's not as promoted.
Okay, but let's outside of the libido, which by the way, it doesn't apply to every man. It's about a third of one of every three men will have problems. Actually, I think it's one every four with erectile dysfunction. Right, past 40. So most men are still capable and have no problem with their sexual performance. Most of them.
And
So,
women too. Yeah,
but
women, they say women have sex at 40 and that's when they actually start enjoying it.
oh yeah, no, your ability to have sex and more of it and better sex doesn't
And
change
wanting
in your
it. Yeah.
40s. Yeah, it doesn't change in your 40s. What changes is your ability to procreate in your 40s.
Right.
You go from healthy below 35 to danger
Right.
40s, right? So it becomes a
Right.
little different. But when I'm talking about sexual marketplace, it's not just the way your performance in sex in bed. I'm talking about overall what makes you attractive, and ultimately, what makes a man attractive isn't his youth. What makes a man attractive is his value as a leader, his ability to um, provide, his ability to teach and be of value to a household, that's what makes a man most valuable, which is why historically, and I think you would probably agree, I don't know, most relationships have an older man and a younger woman. And as men get older, their girlfriends maintain that age of 20s, or their girls that they go after. Because in the sexual marketplace, women, their value is highest in their 20s based on how they look, based on what they do. Which is why an attractive man, for example, on social media, an attractive man is a well-dressed man with a suit, nice beard, cut. Maybe he shows value with some watches and some stuff that can talk, right? The opposite is true for a woman. The sexual marketplace for a woman on Instagram or any social place is the way you look, your curves, how attractive are you? So those kind of things change with time. A man in his 50s, 45, can still be sexy as shit. A woman.
But I think that was true maybe in our, like, the generation before us. I think our generation has completely changed that. I mean, look at Jada Pinkett. Look at Angela Bassett. Look at all the women.
No, but you see, you're saying, go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I understand where you're coming from in regards to the physical appearance being more of a pressure that's needed to be attractive as a woman. Right. But I just think that as of today, the way that women are evolving is not like my grandmother or my mother. I think that now more than ever, I see 45, 50, 55-year-old women that look damn good, that understand how healthy eating is important, that understand exercise and valuing that understand that stress is really important and investing in it. And then there's the other marketplace of women who go and seek, plastic surgeries and all these other things to upkeep their appearances.
I would agree with you that it's definitely not the same as in the past, but it's still predominantly that way. Because when you use examples like J-Lo, who's 51 and looks great, or Angela Bassett and all these other women, those are like exceptions to the rule. I think you'd agree.
Right. It's not the majority.
Exactly. So,
but it is more, what I'm saying is that gives you more, it's more likely for women to look at that and say, wow, it's possible if I now use and prioritize myself, my health, to remain that way, right? Like, we add the value, we create the value, right? So we say, oh, wait a second here. If I drink more water every day, if I exercise frequently, 30s, I could remain more youthful, and I don't have to put my physical appearance to the back burner so that I can take care of my kids, take care of my husband, take care of my family. Because the reason why women in the history of it has not prioritized their physical appearance is not because they were just aging faster, it's because they weren't prioritizing it because of their priorities in the family.
Right.
Let's not get stuck there.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, let's get to the next question. So, do men have problems managing their sexual desires? Would you say that men use sex for emotional support?
I would say that men use sex for emotional support, yes. And I would say that we often do struggle with controlling our desires sexually. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's definitely a fact. Now, is that necessarily a problem? It's a problem if you aren't honest. Like, for example, if I tell the person that I'm with, hey, this is how I am, this is what I'm going to do. Do you accept? No? Okay, then I'll move on to the next person. Do you accept? Yes. Then I'm never going to be a cheater, because you only cheat when you deceive. If I'm not lying to you, if I don't deceive you, if I don't tell you that I'm going to be monogamous when I'm not, then I'm not cheating. There's no way you can tell me, oh my God, you lied to me, you cheated on me. No, because I told you from the beginning, this is how I'm going to move. And you accepted it.
So what about I tell you that it's less about trying to prevent cheating, but more about trying to prevent or trying to find healing in the reasons why men are connected to their sexual desires and use sexual desires as an emotional support? Like, what about if I tell you that there's toxic sexual behaviors that are young boys that make them feel that they need to use their sexual desires as a priority to feel emotionally connected.
Okay, so what would be other than rape and like things like that, right? That are obviously wrong. What would be a unhealthy sexual, I don't know, function or desire that men have?
So let me give you a scenario, right?
Ooh, that's getting good. Thank you for listening to part 1, and make sure you tune in next week for part 2. Laters.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe and follow on iTunes, Spotify, Soundcloud, and YouTube at Relayshons Podcast via The Diary of MR. M as in Melissa, R as in Rosario. And now, the best part, here are the after credits, a message from my co-host.